is the 5th of March, 2020 in Tralee, County Kerry, Ireland. This is still based on the topics of hate crime and human rights violations and the problems it has caused for me, and also with regard to the issue of being a victim of sexual assault and revenge porn, and how victims and survivors of assault are mistreated, wronged, and undermined in a community and in society. Um, as I've mentioned before in the past, that issue was a closed chapter, but the individuals that were guilty of the defamation that ensued and the actual assault have, in recent times, since I gave birth and got married, um, took preemptive measures to cause further problems without even realizing how serious these problems that they caused recently would become. Um, in Tralee, County Kerry, Ireland, there's a recent development of societal progress in my hometown, where families and individuals have decided to create a false sense of nobility, while in the meantime have violated authentic, um, you know, uh, royal ancestral lines of mine that have involved ancestral assault and spiritual violence. Um, this issue has been ongoing. There's been falsification, as I've said, of information and personal details of mine. There's been identity theft, and this issue has been affecting my family and our rights and our entitlements. So basically, this has been accommodated, and as a consequence of people's intentions or notions to upgrade themselves in society, they've perpetrated very serious offences and been highly disrespectful. As a light worker, as I've mentioned, my spiritual light body has been very seriously damaged. Um, this has affected all aspects of society and is a little bit more serious than climate change. Um, the destruction and violation of any spiritual light being doesn't bode fortuitous for any society. As well as that, the authorities and the politicians have been fully aware of all of this, and throughout this ordeal, I have not been confronted. Since 2006, I've been a member of the fellowship, and I have worked and helped other recovering addicts. And the unfortunate aspect of all of this is that in the recent times of progress and development of upward nobility and upward progress and sobriety and whatnot, there's been very serious offences perpetrated against an innocent mother and deserted wife. This has involved individuals actually intruding upon my marital status and my marriage, and people that have discussed my marriage without actually knowing the facts of the situation, and that have basically tried to make decisions with regards my family life and my marital life and my professional life. These individuals have claimed falsehoods, as I've already mentioned, and they have tried not only to denigrate my quality of life, and they have affected my hierarchy of needs, basically, intentionally, um, so as to avoid the justice that is required for this situation. There's been basically a collective group of people that have broadcasted falsehoods, that have made false claims, and the guards in Tralee, County Kerry, Ireland have been fully aware of this since 2005. Um, as a victim, I've been surviving on my own. I've had the fellowship work, I've had my own career, and in recent times I had my family. Um, this has all been disrespected, and I'm now currently, as I've said, in HAPS accommodation. The HAPS accommodation is a one-bedroom apartment, um, perfectly respected, but in the meantime, in my marital home, there's trespassing, and with regards to the property of my marriage, there's also been trespassing. So the people that have been involved in these violations have not only perpetrated over 20 offences since I gave birth, more than 20 offences since I gave birth, and not only that, but the victim impact statement, as I've said, has not been acknowledged. So there are people that are still intent on causing further harm, and human rights agencies have been prevented from assisting me. They have been misinformed about me. I've been a teacher since I graduated in 2003, and not once have I been involved in any criminal offences or any kind of incriminating misconduct in society. I've not been involved in antisocial behaviour, and yet, because of these people that have caused this problem in this community, that are now currently proclaiming and espousing to be, you know, have misled the individuals that they are preventing from assisting me. So this issue of ancestral assault is very serious. The issue of financial abuse and theft and medical incompetence and obstructions of justice are all very serious. But the idea of degrading and denigrating a professional, a victim, and violating a person's right to freedom and thinking that they're going to displace a person because they find it uncomfortable to confront the offences that they've perpetrated is a very serious issue for the guards to be acknowledging, because as an innocent woman, as a fantastic mother, if I might add also, that has been very seriously wronged by state agencies and ombudsmen, the human rights offences in this county are absolutely shameful. And no matter what wealth or stealth is behind any such initiative, the disrespect shown to me is absolutely frightening. My private dwellings at the moment, as I've said, is a HAPS apartment. This apartment is in perfect condition. There has been trespassing. There have been false claims from this accommodation and basically unsubstantiated. So the initiative and vendetta that has been facilitated is yet again further offence against an innocent woman. So this is all ongoing, and these uploads might sound repetitive, but this is what it's like for a victim of sexual assault, revenge porn, marital desertion, human rights violations, and hate crime. And this community still hasn't been able to confront its offences, even though it's espousing to be upwardly mobile and upwardly noble. But in fact, what's happening is a recent development in people's spiritual consciousness of being upright and couth, when in fact the most serious and dangerous circumstances have been caused to innocent life. So the publicity stunts that have also been involved in this, discussing this situation about my circumstances, is also another, as far as I'm concerned, offence involved in all of this. Um, there isn't anyone in any position, as I've always stated, to discuss my marital life. There isn't anyone in any position to take any action about my circumstances. My private life is my private life, and there have been people imposing in my marriage and trespassing on my marital property and marital home, and that have also helped themselves to my wealth and my opportunities from the exploitation of my creative and intellectual work and studies since 2006. I've been very seriously defamed. I have not in any way ever been involved in, let's say, unsavory professions. I've been a teacher, a law abiding citizen, and for any politicians to facilitate this kind of an assault of an innocent woman and mother and deserted wife, property owner, is absolutely scandalous. I'm constantly being offended with defamatory claims about mental health. My mental health is a lot better than the people that are causing these problems, and they have caused very serious problems. The violations of privacy are inexcusable. The false claims that I've had to tolerate have been absolutely horrendous. These people that have done this and that have facilitated it are basically causing a bigger human rights issue, because, as I've said in my previous upload, there's been other misfortunate individuals that have also been involved in this um, vendetta, and people's professional lives have been compromised because of the lies and falsehoods that have to become accommodated to serve the ill intentions of those involved in identity theft, financial theft, and property theft. On 4 occasions, my right to legal guidance, advice, etc., was obstructed. My legal rights and the legal guidance that I'm entitled to has not been adequate by any means. This is all a part of the vendetta occurring in this town. And as for the harassment of mental health professionals that have claimed outrageous falsehoods in their diagnoses and in their report, presenting false information and violating my privacy, just shows how serious the standards are dropping in Tralee, County Kerry, Ireland. So this is my upload for today, my second upload. This is an ongoing issue since I was sexually assaulted and defamed online, that everyone is fully aware of. The shame of this situation is on the professionals and the citizens that are facilitating even further assaults of my character, reputation, and good name. So I am aware that the politicians are aware. I'm aware that there are agencies also aware of this circumstance and the wrongdoings and intrusions of individuals that have have been prevented from assisting in righting the wrongs of what has been done. So those people that are technically strangers that imposed themselves on my private life, my family life, destroyed my family life, and trespassed onto my property and affected my health, and are guilty of even more serious issues. I'd appreciate it if those in positions of power would acknowledge how serious the wrongdoings are, and that as a spiritual light worker, the message I would send to those commencing on the path is that when there are such circumstances as progress in any spiritual sense, that to be aware of the predators and imposters that are guilty, and that are guilty of preying on innocent individuals, because there's a few sharks out there that have done very serious damage to my spiritual light body. And as I've said, it's a little bit more serious than climate change when these kind of things are happening in society. So I think that's as much as I'll say for this upload. But as regards the individuals that are involved in the publicity stunts and the decision making, I hope they're aware of the burden on their conscience for facilitating human rights violations, children's rights violations, and women's rights violations, and that under no circumstances is there any excuse, any justifiable excuse for a law abiding citizen and a mother and an educator to be so severely wronged due to other people's ill gotten gains and ill serving agendas. Because from circumstances like these, it's very difficult to visualize any positive outcomes when such offences are accommodated. And in the greater scheme of things, future generations, especially young people, aren't going to be learning many positive outcomes from these kind of situations either. So that's my second upload for today. I think I've said enough, and I hope I'm making myself clear enough how serious this situation is. Injustice is inexcusable, unforgivable, and those that turn a blind eye and accommodate the bystander effect, as they call it, are as guilty as the culprits.